Things dismissive avoidants secretly want to hear after you stop chasing. When you stop chasing a dismissive avoidant, something fascinating happens beneath their calm exterior. Something they'll never admit out loud. On the surface, they look unbothered, collected, and completely unfazed. They act like your absence is just another quiet Tuesday in their life. But internally, your silence triggers a series of realizations they've spent years trying to avoid. And what makes it even more interesting is that dismissive avoidants, despite their insistence on independence, secretly want to hear certain things after you pull back. Not because they want to be chased, but because these words speak directly to the wounds they've buried deep under layers of self-protection. The first thing they secretly want to hear is this: "I'm not angry at you. I just needed space for myself." Dismissive avoidants fear being the villain in someone's story. They don't want emotional chaos, and they don't want to feel like they've hurt someone, even if they've created distance themselves. This statement soothes their biggest anxiety, that someone is depending on them emotionally in a way they cannot handle. It tells them they are not the cause of a conflict, and it ensures them you are not waiting with resentment. It restores a sense of safety in their mind because it removes emotional pressure they are terrified of. The second thing they secretly want to hear, though they'll never say it, is, "I'm okay. You don't need to worry about me." This is powerful because avoidants carry an invisible fear, the fear that someone will need them too much. They worry that emotional involvement will trap them or obligate them. When you show that you're stable, grounded, and self-sufficient, it pulls them closer because it aligns with the kind of relationship they feel safest in, one with plenty of breathing room. Another thing dismissive avoidants want to hear after you stop chasing is this: "I respect your need for space." For them, space is survival. It's not just a preference. It's a coping mechanism they developed long before you ever knew them. Growing up, emotional closeness often felt overwhelming or unpredictable. Distance became the one reliable way they could regulate their feelings. So when someone respects their space without guilt-tripping them, without making accusations, and without chasing, it makes them feel validated in a way they rarely experience. It tells them that you understand their emotional language, even if they never explain it. And suddenly, the relationship feels less threatening, more spacious, and safer to return to. But there's another phrase avoidants secretly crave: "I'm not here to control you." This sentence hits their deepest wound. Avoidants fear losing their autonomy more than losing any relationship. If they feel someone is trying to manage them, fix them, or pressure them into emotional closeness, they shut down instantly. But when they hear that you're not trying to control their life or their feelings, it opens the door just a little wider. It makes them feel free. And ironically, freedom is what makes an avoidant move closer. But here's where it gets interesting. Dismissive avoidants don't just want reassurance. You walking away makes them crave something even deeper. They want to hear something that contradicts their internal narrative. Something like, "I enjoyed our connection, but I'm focusing on myself now." This hits them in two ways. First, it tells them your bond was real. Avoidants often assume they didn't matter, that people can't be that attached, or that connections are temporary. Second, it tells them you're no longer pouring your emotional energy into them, which creates a strange magnetic pull. Because avoidants, as detached as they seem, still crave connection, they just fear it. Hearing that you valued them but no longer need them awakens a curiosity they can't ignore. They start wondering what changed in you. They start questioning whether they misjudged your emotional strength. And the moment an avoidant becomes curious, you've shifted the power dynamic entirely. Another thing they secretly want to hear is simply this: "I'm not chasing anyone anymore. I choose peace." Avoidants are attracted to emotional calmness. They admire independence. They feel safe with people who don't make them responsible for their happiness. When they realize you've stopped chasing, not out of punishment, not out of anger, but out of self-respect, they feel something they rarely allow themselves to feel: admiration. They begin to see you as someone emotionally mature, someone who stands strong, someone who's no longer waiting in the shadows for them. It creates a gravitational pull because avoidants are drawn to people who don't demand anything from them. And when they realize you're not demanding connection, something in them softens. But let's go deeper. One of the most powerful things a dismissive avoidant secretly wants to hear after you stop chasing is, I still care, but I'm not holding on. This is the sweet spot for them. Connection without pressure, caring without clinging, affection without expectation. Because avoidants don't actually want you to disappear forever. They just want to feel safe within whatever connection you had. And knowing that you care but also respect your own boundaries comforts them. It shows them a version of intimacy they can handle, a version where closeness doesn't suffocate. Another message that hits an avoidant right at the core is, I'm focusing on making my life better. Avoidants deeply respect self-improvement. They value independence. When you show that your attention is now on personal growth, your career, your health, your passions, they feel relieved and impressed at the same time. Your growth removes their fear of engulfment because now you're not waiting for them to complete your emotional world. And what's surprising is that this often makes them think about re-entering your life because avoidants come back when they feel safe. They approach when they sense you are whole, not when you need them. But perhaps the most unexpected thing dismissive avoidants want to hear, even if they'll never admit it, is, I'm not the same person you walked away from. Avoidants respect transformation. They respect emotional strength. When you quietly evolve, when you emotionally upgrade, when you rise, not with anger, not with blame, but with clarity, they feel something shift inside them. Because now you represent something safe, something balanced, something intriguing. And avoidants are always drawn to people who feel emotionally steady. When you stop chasing and instead become someone with boundaries, confidence, and self-respect, they don't just notice, they feel it. But here's the deeper truth. Dismissive avoidants don't just want to hear these things, they want to feel them. Avoidants are extremely sensitive to unspoken energy. They can sense when you're still trying to get a reaction out of them. They can sense when your silence is performative. They can sense when your self-focus is fake. But when your growth is real, when your peace is genuine, when your detachment is authentic, it hits them differently. It forces them to reflect. And reflection is something avoidants try their entire life to avoid. When they start reflecting on you, it means your shift has impacted them. And finally, the thing avoidants secretly want to hear the most, though they would never say it, is this simple, liberating truth. I'm choosing myself now. Because deep down, they wish they could say the same. They wish they had that kind of emotional courage. They wish they could choose themselves without fear, without guilt, without shutting down. When they see you doing it, when they hear you expressing this boundary, it inspires something inside them. It shows them a version of closeness that doesn't take away autonomy. And ironically, the moment an avoidant sees that being with you wouldn't cost them their freedom, that's the moment they start coming back. So in the end, the things dismissive avoidants secretly want to hear after you stop chasing aren't desperate confessions or emotional pleas. What they want to hear is strength, independence, peace, non-attachment. They want to feel that being connected to you doesn't threaten their inner world. They want to feel that they can return without being swallowed by emotional expectations. And most importantly, they want to know that you are okay without them, not because you're cold, but because you are whole.